What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of News Dose. So, Dragon Quest XI-S for the Nintendo Switch is getting a massive expansion, but not everybody is too happy about this, which we'll get into in just a moment. Also, PlayStation will be the sponsor to the biggest fighting tournament of the year, Evo 2019, and they're hinting at some news. What could it be? But before we get into all that, don't forget to hit the subscribe and bell notification button if you want to keep up to date with all of the latest gaming news. I try to post 3 to 4 times a week, and I pride myself on delivering as much game-related news as I possibly can. So let's get right into this. Dragon Quest XI-S is getting a huge update, which allows you to play each individual party member in a solo adventure. As an example, Eric the blue-haired boy is imprisoned in the monster's hideout and needs to escape, whereas Jade is imprisoned in another world entirely. Without any spoilers, this is at the point of the game when the party gets separated, and you then get to play each story to learn what happens. Some members you'll be playing entirely solo, while others may have a whole new party separate from the original Dragon Quest XI. This is actually a crazy amount of extra content, and this doesn't even include other features the Switch is getting, such as the 16-bit mode, which has rubbed some people the wrong way, and you may be asking, why would anybody really be upset by this? And that's because it appears the PlayStation 4 and PC version, which released last year, if I'm correct, will not be getting this content even through DLC, or at least there has been no hint of it as of this moment. Hopefully that'll change, because this is a massive amount of content that they're adding, but Square Enix tends to make a lot of really odd decisions, so it wouldn't surprise me if it never happens. The game overall is looking really good though, and GameXplain got some footage of it, and it looks like it's running pretty well on the Nintendo Switch, both in handheld and in docked. I'd say it's probably around 720p and 30 frames per second. It may be a little bit less in handheld mode, I'm not really sure, but I couldn't tell based off of the YouTube video alone. Either way though, Nintendo Switch fans looks to be in for a treat with Dragon Quest XI-S, and like I said, this is a huge expansion. I mean, you are able to play each hero or each character in this game with their own solo adventure. That's absurd. I mean, you're turning I think it's like 56 hours on average people beat the story. You're going to turn that into a 70-hour or 100-hour plus game. I mean, this is going to be absolutely huge. Anyways, it's certainly one of my most anticipated games of this year, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to it as well. In other news, PlayStation has become an official sponsor for Evo 2019, which doesn't seem to be too odd at first glance. After all, most of the fighting game community plays on the PlayStation, but they're also hinting at some news which suddenly makes this much more exciting. So now you have to think they have some fighting game related announcement. Now there's 2 fighting games that comes to mind that Sony has been tied to in the last decade, which is Street Fighter V, which they partnered up with for the PlayStation 4, and then they have PlayStation All-Stars for the PlayStation 3. Now my first conclusion is, so could there be a sequel to PlayStation All-Stars? I know a lot of people kind of makes fun of PlayStation All-Stars, and it didn't really turn out to be Sony's Super Smash Bros. By any means, but it's not a terrible game. It just wasn't what a lot of people was expecting from that type of game, I think. Now, could they actually make a sequel to PlayStation All-Stars? I'm not really sure, to be honest, but maybe. I mean, it could be an entirely different game not related to PlayStation All-Stars. Maybe they have a deal with another fighting game, Street Fighter 6 or some updated Street Fighter 5. Or it could just be a character in a game like Horizon Zero Dawn's Aloy in something like Soul Calibur 6. Really, it could be a number of different things, but I'm excited to see what they show at Evo this year. What do you all think? Would you like to see a sequel to something like PlayStation All-Stars? I personally wouldn't mind it myself, but I'd like them to change it up a bit if they do go that route. Speaking of Sony, we got to see Death Stranding's box art this weekend, and while usually I don't find box arts to be particularly interesting, this one is, and I'll tell you why. Ever since Death Stranding was first announced, there has been a lot of speculation on whether or not Death Stranding is a timed exclusive, and if it'll eventually be releasing on the PC at some point down the road. And really, there's a lot of reasons to believe it is. I actually have a whole video on this subject, so go check that out, but it was originally announced as coming first to PlayStation 4. Now, since then, that line has kind of disappeared, and Death Stranding is running on the Decima engine, which was created by Sony's first-party studio, Guerrilla Games. Which, that could be a problem if they do want to port it over the PC, though the box art revealed this weekend was not sporting the only on PlayStation badge that you see on several PlayStation exclusive games. Now, this could mean nothing, but this is adding more fuel to the fire, and by this point there has been a lot of smoke surrounding Death Stranding coming to the PC. First, there was the coming first to the PlayStation 4 when it was first announced. Then Kojima Productions put out a Q&A that said it was coming to PC after PlayStation 4. And then Hideo Kojima was asked if Death Stranding was coming to PC just a few short months ago. He flat out wouldn't even answer the question. This could mean a number of different things, or maybe he's under contract and can't talk about it. Maybe Sony secured it as a complete exclusive though, but I really wouldn't doubt it at all if we see Death Stranding on PC at some point, whether that be in 6 months or a year after it releases on the PlayStation 4, I'm not really sure. And let's not forget, Sony isn't exactly forthcoming when it comes to timed exclusives, and really Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy was released in a very similar way, and Sony tried to hide the fact it was also a timed exclusive as well. What do you all think though? Do you think it's a timed exclusive or not? In other news, Hero 31 for Overwatch was officially announced as a crazy tank by the name of Sigma. We got an origin trailer today, and he seems very interesting and, well, frankly, he's kind of creepy. A bit of a mad scientist-like character that can possibly manipulate gravity and use black holes in some way or the other to manipulate the battlefield. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on in this trailer, where Sigma seems like he's almost two different characters in a way. One of which is a good guy, but the other a more scary, demented version. He may possibly have a split personality, or maybe he's become the subject of his own creation, which has altered his personality in some shape or form. We don't really know much about his kit yet, but knowing Blizzard, we won't have to wait too long. We can definitely speculate though, considering Overwatch characters' personality is heavily involved with the design choice of their abilities. So I'm curious what you all think Sigma's abilities will be, so let me know in the comments below. I definitely think we need a new tank in Overwatch, and just seeing this trailer for him, I feel like he's going to be a tank that nobody was expecting, with some very interesting gameplay mechanics unseen before. We also got news that Tencent is working on a new Pokemon game. There's actually been a lot of Pokemon news here recently, but this one could potentially be a huge spin-off for Pokemon. It'll be developed by the Timmy Studio, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but they developed the Call of Duty mobile game that's coming to Android later this year, and the Chinese PUBG adaptation. Nothing's really known other than this, but I wouldn't be surprised to see whatever they work on become a big hit in the mobile space, and if you like Pokemon, you might want to be paying attention to this. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is that Digimon Survive got a new animated trailer, and it looks excellent. I've always had a soft spot for Digimon, but this one is really hitting all the right buttons for me. It appears to have a more mature and dark tone this time around, and it looks like a mix of visual novel and disguised gameplay. This animation in particular is actually the opening for Digimon Survive, so we're introduced to some of the characters and what the game will be about. We now know that they're going on some kind of school-like trip, and wherever they're going, it appears like there's some Digimon there, which was the result of an earthquake on the news that they are watching in this animation. Now, from what we know, Digimon Survive will never actually take place in the digital world, and it shows here because the Digimon were lurking in the forest. Like I said, this game just seems to be hitting all the right notes for me, and it's too bad we have to wait until next year to play it. Anyways, that's it for today's news dose, but let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Peace out.